it was a non-event for me. How'd you guys do?
We rarely lose power. It was bad for a couple of years, but whatever they did, it's been good since then, for us at least.
That's good. This area that our office is in was notorious for losing power for 2-3 days at a time at the most minor events. You know, it just made no sense.
Hello.
Hey, Wayne.
Oh,
Hey, Wayne.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Is that you, Mark?
Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, check. You are in the meeting now. There are 8 participants in the meeting.
Does Zoom seem to take about 8 years off of our appearance? Our age, or is that just my imagination? Because my eyes are going bad because I'm getting older.
If you get the platinum version, they enhance your view. Patty, were you surprised? You weren't surprised by Kathy, huh? What a terrible thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
One of the previous board members on the Roselle Park Board, Kathy Spencer, passed away.
Oh, that's too bad.
Patty and I knew her because we were on the board at the same time.
How old was she?
I don't know, Patty.
I'd say maybe 60.
Ooh,
Been battling cancer a long
yeah, that's too bad.
She would always have a pretty harsh viewpoint, but it was a viewpoint that we didn't have. And I always liked her because she was more about action than words. And she riled some people at times, but her viewpoint came to us at a very appropriate time many times. So we'll be she's going to be missed, and with our family too, with her family. Too bad.
Was she still on the park board?
No,
No, she had left. Yeah.
she left. She was only on a couple of years because her
Hmm.
when she got cancer, she got off. Yeah.
Well, a real nice summer we're having.
yeah.
Yeah,
Heat and humidity, it's great.
all week.
Well, it was real great today, so.
Mhm.
You in your pool, Wayne?
Oh, you betcha. Yep. 85-degree water.
Nice.
You in your lake, Andy?
That's bath water.
Can I bring the guys over, do some training in it?
Yeah, if you fill it back up. bring your water truck.
I don't think you like the color of the water after that, so. Nice shade of brown.
Now, there's only another month left, and I then shut it down at the end of September. How about you, Andy?
About the end of September, yeah. All depends what the weather is. You know what? Mine's easy. I just, you know, so I don't have that much. I've got the cover I just put on it and that's it.
Yeah, slightly more for me.
Blow the lines out and away we go.
Do that. Are we all still alive?
Yeah.
All of a sudden my screen changes, so I don't know. I'm gonna try something. Ah, okay, it worked. Scary though.
Thank you for remembering the flag, Patty.
Well, I got a chance to meet Barb face to face, or half face to
Yeah,
half
face with a mask on
Saturday.
Saturday.
How did everything go Saturday?
It was good.
Yeah. It was a nice park amenity they put in.
Yeah,
Well, thank you too for doing that.
no problem.
It was our honor. Thank you for
Yes.
picking us.
Thank you.
Thomas?
You think we're ever gonna meet again, like
In
quarterly?
person?
Yeah. Jim, is there any way we can do it?
Well, as a matter of fact, if you want to, you can. Wheaton's done it, but they've erected plexiglass between each of the seats on the dais, which my position tells me is completely and totally useless. And then they've got the social distancing in the council chambers where the chairs are separated by 6.5 feet. And I'd estimate that they could probably seat 12 to 15 people.
Mm,
And then they have a combined Zoom attendance as well. And it feels right to have the council back together on the dais, you know. Not that this feels wrong. I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression. It is nice to get back together.
Yes.
Well, even if we did it quarterly for a while, you know, that would be something.
Mhm.
So,
Hey, Lee.
how you doing?
Hey, Bruce.
Hello.
We're missing Patrick,
So far, yeah.
like Jeff, Chief. Chief.
Can you hear me, Jason?
Lee, thanks for that article on the Airbnbs.
No problem.
Is that about where Airbnb is taking it upon themselves to
Yes.
Mhm.
prohibit parties, large gatherings?
Mm,
Gonna try.
Is
I
that
wonder how they
the,
regulate that.
they were gonna fine, they were gonna fine people if they, if
Had a
they
big party?
had, if they had over so many people, yep. Yeah,
Okay, so that's how they're going to penalize somebody. They didn't talk about how they're going to enforce it or monitor it.
No.
They're
Okay,
just
people.
simply saying you shouldn't do it.
I have 5:30, so let's call the meeting to order, and if we can all rise for the pledge of allegiance, and our clerk has the flag.
I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance
To the flag
Of the United States of America
and to
and republic which it stands, nation under God, indivisible, with liberty
Justice.
and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, if I can have a roll call, please.
Mayor Maglio,
I am here.
trustee Berkshire,
Here.
trustee Devitt. Absent, trustee Domke,
I'm here.
trustee Poleski,
Here.
trustee Sarno,
Here,
and trustee Trejo.
Here,
You have a quorum.
All right. Can I have a motion to accept tonight's prepared
So
agenda?
moved.
second,
Any discussion? Okay, can I have a roll call then, please?
Trustee Domke,
Aye.
trustee Trejo,
aye,
trustee Berkshire,
Yes.
trustee Sarno.
aye.
What else did I forget?
Mr.
Trustee
Trejo?
Trust, is that it? 1, 2, 3.
You didn't get me. Aye, though.
Okay.
David, trustee Poleski, thank you.
Aye.
The village board meeting, public comments due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The village board will be meeting virtually and will be live streamed on the village YouTubes. Madam Clerk, do we have any comments that were submitted this evening?
We do not, no comments tonight.
Hey, do we have any public comments or did anybody that's joined our meeting with us this evening?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Fred.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. So first meeting, so I'm calling in, I guess, to understand, frankly put, how it works. I did submit a comment after the fact, and we'll probably take it up then in 2 weeks when I follow the appropriate procedures.
Would you like to make your comment, sir?
What has to do with dog trespass in the Roselle. I called the police regarding the situation, and actually the officer didn't want to send anybody out. I've got a corner lot here that's being used as a dog run. You know, I've put in the irrigation system. I've put in hundreds of dollars worth of fertilizer. I pay the monthly fees for the water to irrigate it. My grandson plays out there, and I shouldn't need to be wiping feces off of his hands and clothes. So we've got 1342 city code that says the dogs aren't even supposed to be on the lawns in the first place. And if they are, with permission, they should be cleaned up after, and it's not being done. That's my comment and something I want to see addressed.
And I'm sorry, did we get your address?
320 Pinecroft Drive. That's the corner of Pinecroft and Ash.
And when did you call that into the police department?
August 17th at 10:09.
All righty, thank you.
Yes, sir.
We'll have somebody get back to you on that to see if we can address that.
Thanks for your patience with me, sir.
Oh, no problem at all.
Now, in this day and age, it seems like a dumb thing to worry about, but you know, it's the little things that can blow up.
Well, I live on a corner lot myself, and I live right to the public, one of the public pathways through the village, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else for a public comment? Okay, we'll let the record show none. Moving on to officials and staff report. I'm up first. Consider the recommendation of trustee short-term rental committee regarding the regulations of short-term rentals. And Jason, if you would like to take that, just give us a summary on that. And Patty, I want to make note that Mr. Devitt has joined our meeting.
I've got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of participants on the short-term rental committee, along with Karen Bricks, as well as Jeff Odell, the committee met last week, and before you is a summary of output from that committee. This is really, I feel, a touch point with the board on some kind of key policy pillars, as I think the group's been calling it, to check in with the board on the short-term rental, share with them their thoughts on the direction that they're going, with the goal of using the next village board meeting to have a draft text amendment for the board to further look at, discuss, refine, all in preparation of a public hearing that is being suggested be held on September 21st, which would be a standalone special village board meeting to take up the public hearing on short-term rental text amendment. The main components to the committee's recommendation is one, that short-term rentals be a permitted use in all residential districts in the village, and then also defining then what a short-term rental is. As the memo says, it's would have to be an owner-occupied principal residence, and all of these would need some further definition development as the committee works through this. So that owner-occupied principal residence, establishing a minimum night stay at 3. Therefore, anything less than 3 by definition would be prohibited, and then up to 29 days as sort of that maximum for what would fit the definition of a short-term rental. It also would require registration with the village's zoning administrator, and through an application process that the contents of that application would kind of be driven by the zoning administrator, the type of information that would be sought from the applicants. And then the village, upon receiving that registration and talking with the property owner, would then notify area properties as far as it being registered as a short-term rental. So those are kind of the 4 kind of key components of a definition. There would need to be more flushed out yet as the actual text amendment is drafted. And I would turn it back over to you, Mayor, and obviously with Patrick and Bruce as the chair and co-chair of the committee.
And gentlemen, I'll give you the first opportunity. Do you have anything you'd like to add to that? Patrick, Bruce?
The only thing I would add is that, we did take upon recommendation to consult with the group that we have looking at our zoning, and they've provided us with some insights. And so we're going to leverage what they've also provided us in a memo and working in towards that text amendment that Jason was referring to. So that's why we wanted to at least get in front of everyone what our game plan is, which is the items there, see what the others have to offer, and then we'll provide that at the September 14th meeting for we'll get it to you on the 14th in preparation really for a off-cycle meeting, which will then begin with a public hearing.
Well, gentlemen, I definitely thank both of you for your drive and what you continue to do for us. And I look forward to that meeting. Anybody else have anything? Mr. Domke?
So I think this is really a good start, and it's well thought out. It's planned well. I did want to say just a couple of things in open meeting. The Daily Herald today had an article about an Airbnb problem in Naperville. Something to consider, that other communities are grappling with this too, and that there may be a lot of data coming in from different sources that might amend this thing even in the future as we go forward. I hope that we could use other ideas from other communities. I also want to know, if as a committee, are you going to provide plenty of options on the zoning so that we'll have a lot of different things that we can pick through and try to tailor this for Roselle. Anything left on the cutting room floor, just will it be somewhat of a brainstorming? Will we be able to add some ideas ourselves? We all look for something in a zoning that has some teeth to it too. Would there be any fines if these Airbnbs or these short-term rentals do not live up to their promise? Things like that. Would we shut them down forever? Will we bring it back later on and say, no, this isn't working? Can we modify it some more? And then later, will the residents have enough time to add their input, or will they only have a week? That would be my questions and my comments. And again, I want to just reiterate one last thing. We're working together as a team. So my points are not to be contradictory to anyone, but to add all the dynamics that this decision needs to have. Thank you.
You wanted to add something?
Is that me, Mayor?
Yes, it was. Sorry.
Sorry, didn't hear you. Yeah, I just wanted to add, so the purpose of the committee is to bring the ideas, and then the board will have their input on how they want to actually pan this out and what other details they want to add to it. So by no means is what the committee proposing going to be, set in stone.
Mr. Brookshire?
I guess I'll reiterate with the process. So to answer some of these questions, when this gets put out on the 14th, it's going to simply just the board. The text amendment will be drafted by the village attorney. You'll be able to review what we are proposing, which is basically what's shown up here on the in the agenda. Now we'll also look at what I can't remember their names, so let me pull it up. The Tesca and Ansel Glinick will also with their memo, so there's other potentials there. So that will be brought up at it's sent over to you on the 14th for your review. And we're looking for your thoughts and ideas. And if there's anything else to that, then we will review them and attempts to incorporate them as part of the September 21st meeting. We are, Jason, correct me when, but we will be opening up a notice. We have to follow the notice 3 weeks in advance of the 21st meeting for getting that out, that we will be doing this. And then we will have a public hearing at the 21st meeting. And that will then have an opportunity for anyone to look at the materials and so forth that are being presented. And it is at the 21st meeting, the intent is to then to get the village board approval so that we can actually put those text amendments into the zoning ordinances. Did I miss anything of importance there, Jason or Jeff?
Not that I'm aware of.
So that kind of, I think, answers the majority of your questions. Now, with regards to fines and repercussions, we have not started talking about any of that. I think our first goal and plan is to get this in and onto the ordinances versus then we will look at what options we have available to us. And I think Karen is going to be working with Jim and specifically on what we can and cannot ask for as part of a registration as we look towards that. So those are some of the areas of what we can do. We can never tell someone they can't put something on Airbnb, but what we can do is through this type of thing, look at what opportunities we have to limit them in terms of fines or whatever we can.
Looks like we got a good start to work with, guys.
Awesome, yes.
Yes, Mr. Trejo.
A couple things. I think to echo your point, it looks like it's a good start so far. One thing I wanted to ask about, and I don't know if Jim, you've been able to look into it, but whether or not we could collect hotel motel tax on these rentals and whether or not we could go back to the rentals that we know that existed in the past to collect that.
Yeah, to go back, I think, Lee, would be impossible. We'd have to incorporate that into the new ordinance.
Got it.
And as far as imposing that, there's no question that a home rule could impose the hotel tax. And I believe that if the definitions are correct, Roselle can impose those as well. Those have to be imposed, though, on the platform because they'd be very, very difficult to collect against the home. And it wouldn't be a part of a classic zoning ordinance to do so. So that will be a separate ordinance. It'd be amendment to the revenue ordinance, not to the zoning ordinance. But I believe it can be done, and we'll study as to whether or not it has to be imposed upon the platform as opposed to the resident. One way or another, it's going to get passed through. There's no question about it, but that's something that'll have to be looked at. I have not seen a non-home rule community yet that has imposed the motel hotel tax, but I believe it can be done.
Got it. The second question I was going to ask is, with regards to penalties and fines, I mean, obviously we have current, or at least I believe we have current penalties and fines if you violate zoning ordinances. So given that these rentals have been in violation of the zoning ordinances, I guess what's the penalty for it now? And have we done anything to the current people selling their houses on Airbnb?
I'm not aware that there's been any enforcement action against prior Airbnb rentals in Roselle.
Do you know what the penalties are for violating the zoning ordinance though?
Not off the top of my head. I believe that they're just the general penalties that are contained in the general penalty provision of the village ordinance, because typically if they were in the zoning ordinance, you'd see them in the ordinance, and I don't believe they're there, Lee.
Got it. And then the only other question I would have, and maybe to layer on this, is if we have the ability to require some sort of insurance policy to protect the village, if any sort of criminal activity or the like happens. I don't know if we could do that as a non-home rule community or not.
Yeah, I don't think so, number one. And number two, I don't think that the village has any criminal liability that it's exposed to as a result of this use, and even allowing this use. It'd be like the village, zoning an area for a car dealership. And, somebody drives out, gets drunk, uses a loaner car. The village has no liability for that. And I don't believe that in this context of Airbnbs, we would either. There's immunities that are also provided to police enforcement under the Tort Immunity Act that I believe are applicable. So I think that requiring insurance in this circumstance is not something that we need to do because the liability exposure is not there.
I meant more so for the homeowner's liability to reimburse costs that the village incurred as a result of actions that occur at their property.
Yeah, that's a very different question. And that's something we can look at. And I think that that's a good idea to enter into the discussion.
Another thing that would play in that also too, Jim, would be a bond for the Airbnbs.
Yeah, we got to keep in mind that we're a non-home rule community when it comes to bonds, Andy. And I'm sorry to say that, but the statutes provide for bonds in particular types of circumstances and uses. Yeah. I don't believe in this circumstance they do.
That was
Yeah,
good.
I was thinking insurance or a bond, so I think it's definitely good to have on the burner to kind of see what we could require from that perspective.
I will look at that bond issue. I think it's a legitimate inquiry, but I'm not optimistic.
Yeah, but insurance is more optimistic, or
no, it's not.
No, okay.
What you mean insurance to reimburse the village? One of the things that we could do is we could incorporate into the ordinance, not necessarily an insurance requirement, but we can incorporate into the ordinance a duty or an obligation for the property owner to follow the ordinance, and if they don't, to reimburse the village for police expenses associated with the additional police services that might be required as a result of someone violating the ordinance. It's a little different in terms of how you enforce it, but it's there. And in my opinion, it could act as a significant deterrent to someone being irresponsible rental of an Airbnb.
Yeah, that's something like that at least would sound good to me.
Bruce?
Well, since we're going to go down that slippery slope, I would request that we do it for all rentals. I want to see every apartment, including this big giant thing that we're going to look to, that we're looking to put on, to incorporate the same type of insurance level, bonds, etc. So please incorporate that, not just on short-term rental, but all rentals that are being used in the village of Roselle. Whether it's residential or, as a matter of fact, let's look at commercial as well. Because anyone who's renting out one of these big complexes and buildings, they could be having criminal activity. So I want us to incorporate that in all rentals in the village of Roselle. So please look into that as well, please.
Anybody else? Okay. Then we look forward to our meeting on this in September. Okay, moving right along. Any other village trustee has a report to give? Mr. Domke?
In conjunction with Patrick and David, we got the opportunity to open up the Little Market. Patrick or David, if you want to make a comment about that, but it was an awesome moment and a very nice amenity for Roselle. David or Patrick, what'd you think?
I concur. I think it's a nice market in the heart of Roselle. We wish them well.
Yep, I think it's fantastic to see that some local residents were able to open up their business. And I know we've been hearing a lot of feedback about having a grocery store. So now we have that opportunity. So fresh produce coming as soon as they get kind of more stabilized. So great opportunity for everyone to support a local grocer.
I almost want to call them the Polish Trader Joe's.
Well, thank you for bringing that forward. Anybody else? Okay, village clerk,
No report.
village attorney,
No report, Mr. Mayor.
village administrator.
No report.
Okay, Chamber of Commerce liaison.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of the Roselle Chamber of Commerce, a reminder that this Wednesday, starting at 10 a.m. is our annual golf outing at the Bloomingdale Golf Course. Hope to see everyone there. For those that are unable to make it, raffle tickets are still on sale, I believe, until tomorrow. See the website for more information and the ability to purchase. That is all.
Hottest day of the year, Patrick.
Thank you.
What can we do?
Mr. Dahl, treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. Your agenda packet tonight contains the July Treasurer's Report, and revenue for the month totaled $1,382,546. And for the year, revenues are at 54% of the budget. Page 2 of my report displays budget versus actual results for select revenue sources. And you can see there that sales tax, income tax, and video gaming tax are all lower due to the coronavirus. Local use tax continues to perform above expectations as more people continue to shop online. And while the volume of building permits that I note in the report continues to be high compared to previous years, the dollar amount of those permits is lower than what we would expect. Often we have several large dollar amount permits come in, and we just have not seen that yet this year, but of course we anticipate some later. Eating tax continues to outperform our pandemic expectations. The tax collected for June sales was only $8,357, or almost 20% below budget. Our restaurants continue to perform strongly in the last few months despite the coronavirus, and kudos to them.
Yeah.
Page 4 of the report displays the general fund expenditures by type, and revenues exceed expenditures for the year by $367,000. On that page, you can see overtime costs for fire are now 104% of budget. However, some of those overtime costs were to cover Metro positions that were vacant due to the virus. Metro invoices have a corresponding, not one-to-one, but a decrease due to the lack of Metro personnel during those months. And page 5 displays the sources of police overtime for the month of July and for the year. And page 6, the general fund expenditures by department are displayed there. And as you can see, most of the departments are lower than fiscal year 19, mainly due to the difference in pay periods between the 2 years and some reduced spending due to the coronavirus. After that, the water and sewer operating fund continues to see increases in water usage, especially the last 2 months compared to last year. June usage was 24% higher than 2019. While there are 2 more billing days than last year, I believe the weather and the coronavirus continue to affect usage. We've seen with more people staying home, residential unit usage has continued to increase. And in a hopeful sign for the economy, commercial industrial use is still higher than last year, indicating that businesses are still open, still operating and doing well. Pages 9 to 14 of the report are detailed balance sheets and income statements for the general and water sewer operating fund. Village investments are shown on page 15 and 16. And of course, the 17 through 22 are trends of several village revenues. You can see their sales tax was down almost 25%. Income tax was up 5.7%. Local use tax was up almost 30%. And as I mentioned earlier, eating tax was down a little under 20%. For a preview of the September treasurer's report, the first month of video gaming tax came in, which was $19,000, almost $19,800. We'll receive that in September. And this is consistent with the tax the village received before the pandemic started, and is yet another good sign. Tax, I think they started July 1st, the video gaming. And so there was a full month, and yeah, it was back up to pre-pandemic levels in the very first month. With that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
David?
I had two quick questions. Before I jump into them, I just think great results that we're seeing despite all the odds. And I think a lot of the work that we have Brian working on to kind of help the business community out is being fantastically received. And it's not a direct correlation, but I think it speaks volumes that we're teaming up and partnering to make sure that businesses are able to do as well as they can. Tom, if you could indulge me and look into your crystal ball and give me your best guess. The two things that I'm worried about are, is the state going to start to have delayed payment cycles like we saw when 2009 happened, and seeing those receipts start to be kicked out further and further? And we always know that our funding that we do receive through the state is constantly under attack. Obviously, I think a lot of that's going to be dependent on how the fair tax referendum goes in November. But what are your kind of concerns as we're getting ready to draft the budget for next year? And do you see those same risks that we might have saw in 2009 potential reoccurrence now, or is it just going to be a different kind of game for us?
You know, that's a very good question. In 08, 09, I think we saw that right away, the delayed payments. I know income tax, that was sneaky. You know, we would go 3 months without seeing a payment. And then it was kind of jumpy. We'd get 2 and then we'd get 4 without getting payments. We haven't seen that yet. And we haven't seen any of our revenues miss either a payment or even by a day. Nothing's been delayed. I don't know the cause of that. Obviously, they put in tighter controls. I think they've done some things that it has enhanced their cash flow, so they haven't relied on that. Not to say that it won't happen, but David, really, we have not seen that yet. I know Jeff asked me that same question in the very beginning. We looked at trends, you know, when we get notification of taxes that are coming and the number of days between that notification and when we get it, and I didn't see anything that it would indicate that they were delaying payments at all, which has been fantastic news. If we would have seen that, we would have saw that a couple months ago, I think. You know, as far as looking ahead to the budget, the one thing I'm struggling with is how to put together sales tax numbers. The fair tax is another interesting question. You know, so far we are back up to, speaking of income tax, we're after, I think it was what, July 15th that income taxes were due for the state. We are back up after that point. We're above budget for the year so far after that payment came in for the July income tax. So we are in good shape as far as income tax goes. The fair tax, you know, we're going to have to put that into the blender and see how we kind of decide what that's going to be. I haven't seen IML come out with anything yet as far as what we're going to see. I have not heard. I think Jeff can chime in if he's heard anything from IML or any of the other groups that, you know, they've heard rumblings from the state about delayed payments or even what the fair tax means. I think it would take some time for that to to take effect. I don't know if that would impact 2021 or not, but certainly we'd have to look at, the future years for that.
Great. Thank you, Tom.
Welcome.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody else? I'm sorry, Bruce, go ahead.
Yes. So Tom, when looking at this, we're roughly $1 million off of budget, but we've also made some conscious decisions in terms of reducing and removing things from our plan. So does this reflect a revised budget? And if it does not, should we start showing what our revised budget might be? Because then we can actually see how far we're really off after we've made some already conscious decisions to defer things.
Yeah, so the budget you see is the budget that was passed, in December, and then we did have one budget amendment. So no, other than that, this does not reflect any changes to our budget because nothing has been approved by the board. I can put something together for you to show what we, came up with as far as the general fund and deferring. And see what that compares to. I can put something together for the board, give that to Jeff and get that to the board as soon as I can. Obviously, in the capital project side, we've deferred the road project, road program, and some other things. And so I can, at least when we get to October, when we get the budget to you, you'll see the difference very clearly. Between budget and where we expect to be for the end of the year. So, but I'll try to get something together.
Yeah, that would be helpful because then we could see, based on our conscious decision, I grant that we haven't officially made the changes, but unofficially we have deferred things and have actually made motions to do so. So it would be good just to kind of see what it looks like. Then my next question is so we got a surplus of 300,000. I'm not trying to say that we should jump in and take advantage, but is there anything that's burning that we need to maybe revisit now that we have a good half a year under our belt to see what that 367 should be used, because we're going to get to a point where we won't be able to, and I don't want something to capital project that might I'll just take the HVAC, fall through the roof because it's not, we didn't do it because of that. So it would be good to kind of see what we might want to earmark for that prior to us going through our next budget cycle.
Sure. So the 367, remember, is just a point in time in July. With revenues, they increase, decrease, and that was net pretty much on a cash basis. That's where we stand at the end of July. As a management team, we're always talking about what is burning, what needs to be done. So yes, we are considering all those things that we did put off. A lot of it was training and some other things that we can't do anyways. So no matter what, we'll see a surplus because of those particular pieces. On the capital side, yes, if something came up, especially in the buildings, we would react to that because things are better than we have expected, not the greatest, but better than we have expected.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Domke.
Real quick, I just want to mention that I noticed on page 5 with the graph from the police department about overtime, I asked the question of what was special event, because I know we didn't have any parades or anything, but Chief got back to me. I just want to share with everybody that he wanted to track the hours of that continuation at Picton. And so he put it, and you guys put it into that account. So it wasn't a parade that I missed because I was sequestered,
But we also had the protest as well. And that some of that is the
yeah.
protest. Yeah.
But it was applied in July, which is okay. I understand.
Right. Well, and then, yeah.
I just wanted to share that with everybody. So it was just a little strange that it was called a special event, which is usually a happy moment.
David, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I think just in a similar line of question from what Bruce had mentioned, I assume our COVID reimbursement through the county, that $900,000+, that isn't necessarily taken into account yet either. And that would be something that might show up as we get reimbursed.
Interesting you bring that up. We had a webinar
Oh,
today,
no.
which was, well, it was a little disconcerting because each county is treating that differently. And we'll probably get further clarification. We anticipate, yes, we are going for all that funding. No, I can't plug that in because I can't anticipate something that we may or may not receive. But yes, we do have almost, it's like 980,000 that we have access to, and another 34,000 roughly from Cook County, which I feel pretty confident we can get that full amount. And we're also looking at FEMA grants now, especially what we heard today about public safety time and being, completely dedicated to COVID-19, not just public safety. You can't assume that all public safety was COVID-19, which is something that we weren't expecting. So there are several either federal or state or county monies that we can get. We're doing all we can to get that, and hopefully that'll plug the hole that we do have.
Anybody else? Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine, procedural, informational, self-explanatory, and non-controversial in nature, and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no discussion on these items. And if I can have our attorney give us a summary on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On tonight's consent agenda, we have presentation and approval of the village board minutes of August 10th, 2020, approval and retention of the executive session minutes of August 26th, September 23rd, November 25th of 2019, approval and retention of the January 6th, February 10th, May 11th, May 26th, June 8th, and June 22nd and June 29th of 2020 executive session minutes, approval and release of the executive session minutes of January 13th, 2020, the adoption of a resolution authorizing a contract between the village and Marchese and Son for land surveying services in an amount not to exceed $8,000, and the adoption of a resolution to approve a contract for 2020-2021 tree removal program between the village and CSEC Tree Service. That's the consent agenda for tonight, Mayor.
Can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Okay. Madam Clerk, can I have a roll call?
Trustee Devitt,
Aye.
trustee Domke,
Aye.
trustee Sarno,
Aye.
trustee Berkshire,
Yes.
trustee Poleski,
Aye.
trustee Trejo.
Aye.
And our motion's approved. Okay, moving on to our regular agenda under community development. And David, would you please?
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract between the Village of Roselle and SB Friedman Development Advisors for professional services related to the financial review of the Avgeris project in the East Irving Park TIF district.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call?
Poleski,
Aye.
trustee Trejo,
Aye.
trustee Domke,
Aye.
trustee Sarno,
Aye.
trustee Berkshire,
Yes.
trustee Devitt.
Aye.
And our motion is carried. Anything else, David?
That's all for the night.
Okay, under administration, Barbara, we have nothing for you. Under police, Mr. Domke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing a collective bargaining agreement between the Village of Roselle and the Metropolitan Alliance of Police, Roselle Police Chapter 258, representing patrol officers.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you would, please, a roll call.
Trustee Domke,
Aye.
trustee Trejo,
Aye.
trustee Berkshire,
Yes.
trustee Sarno,
Aye.
trustee Poleski,
Aye.
and trustee Devitt.
Aye.
And our motion is passed.
And Mayor, Mr. Mayor, I have one more to give. I'd like to make a motion to pass an ordinance repealing and replacing Article 11, truck routes of Chapter 10, Traffic Code of the Code of Ordinances of the Village of Roselle.
Second.
Radomski, I believe that the record should reflect that that's Article 21.
21.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I knew Roman numerals.
I'm sorry to chime in. I just want the motion.
Oh,
to
no, no,
reflect
that's
on the
good.
record.
That brings me back to 5th grade. Thank you.
I can't remember that far back.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, can I have a roll call on?
I would like to ask one question.
Yeah.
In leasing the scale, do we know what that scale costs if we ever wanted to buy it?
Too much.
Okay, that's what I kind of thought, but okay, never mind, forget about it.
Too much in the maintenance and everything goes along with it.
Okay, I get it.
Okay. Madam Clerk, can I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Domke,
Aye.
trustee Trejo,
Aye.
trustee Sarno,
Aye.
Poleski,
Aye.
trustee Devitt,
Aye.
trustee Berkshire.
Yes.
And our motion is carried. Anything else tonight, Mr. Domke?
That's it, Mr. Mayor. I've done enough damage.
Under Public Works, Mr. Berkshire, we have nothing for you. Under Finance, Mr. Trejo, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve the accounts payable list for August 24th, 2020 in the amount of $949,691.07.
Second.
Any discussion on the bills list? Madam Clerk, if you would.
Trustee Trejo,
Aye.
trustee Devitt,
Aye.
trustee Sarno,
Aye. Aye.
trustee Poleski,
Aye.
trustee Domke,
Aye.
trustee Berkshire.
Yes.
And our motion is carried.
And I'd like to open up a discussion regarding the staff's recommendation to change the village's third-party provider of utility bill printing and mailing services.
Thomas?
Thank you again. Try to keep this one a little bit shorter. The village began using CBIS Direct in 2016 to print the water bills and the vehicle sticker applications. And while they performed well during the first 3 years of the agreement, we've just had several instances occur that have caused me to rethink our relationship with them. And the biggest issue was last month, the July bill. The email that went out to 2,000 of our 8,000 customers contained a link to the old bill, which of course, created confusion and questions and problems. We discovered it immediately, and it was repaired the following day, a Saturday. We spent many hours trying to get this fixed, and CBIS blamed it on an internal issue with them. In addition, that same bill did not contain the barcode that finance uses to enter the bill in the munis. Without that barcode, it takes us a little bit longer to enter the payments. We have to do it by hand, but especially in large batches. And this is the second time this year that barcode was missing. They blamed it on a server issue when they had to move from an old server to a new server. And to be honest, that really should never happen. A barcode is part of our code, for them doing our bills, and that should never change. And we should never have to look for that. That's a standard issue of our bill, just like our logo. And in August, we again had issues with the email that was received by our customers. A second email had to be sent out, causing again some confusion among our residents. And so after that incident in July, I reached out to Third Millennium and Associates. They were our second choice during the IRFP process, and I've used them in other places that I've been. I met with them to discuss our issues and request pricing. And as I noted in the agenda item, their price is $0.006 per bill, less than what we are paying. But really, I'm confident that we will not have the same issues we are currently having. We also discussed printing of vehicle sticker applications. I know something near and dear to Lee's heart, some things that we have every year that we discuss, which that I think would be corrected, Lee. But also, they work with the state with receiving the data from the state. One thing, CBIS, they would not sign the agreement with the Secretary of State's office They would not agree to the state Secretary of State's terms. While Third Millennium, they have, I think they said 15 clients that incorporate the state's data. This would increase revenue for the village. Scofflaws that don't get their vehicle stickers would now get applications that they currently do not get. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Yeah, I don't think there should be any questions. I think that you're making the right decision.
Thank you.
Lee, go ahead.
I have a quick question though. Do we get anything back from CBIS for not living up to or making all these errors?
No, I don't think there's anything in the contract.
Got it.
Speaking to the contract, it is the standard terms. So we do have the 14-day without cause clause in there. We don't, I don't think, and I'm waiting to let them know because we still need to work with Third Millennium to get our bill correct. They have to test the data and all that. As far as them, they did not charge us for the time, especially last month, Lee. There was a lot of time that they spent finding the issue and correcting the issue. We didn't get charged for that. I don't think we have a provision in the contract for mistakes, and going after them for that. They did charge us for what they did. But that's up to the board, I think, to if they would like to charge them for anything.
Anybody? Okay. Everybody in concurrence then to,
Let's save some money.
all right, we'll fire.
$06.
Right.
Let's save some of the aggravation.
Yeah. All right, anything else then?
Yeah, with that, I'll make it a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a professional service agreement for utility bill printing with Third Millennium Associates Incorporated.
Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Trustee Trejo,
Aye.
trustee Devitt,
Aye.
trustee Berkshire,
Yes.
trustee Poleski,
Aye.
trustee Sarno,
Aye.
trustee Domke.
Aye.
And our motion is carried.
And I'll make a motion to convene the executive session.
Second.
Purpose of the executive session is to discuss a collective bargaining matter with the firefighters union.
Okay, Madam Clerk, can I have a roll call to go into executive session?
Trustee Trejo,
Aye.
trustee Devitt,
Aye.
trustee Poleski,
Aye.
trustee Domke,
Aye.
trustee Berkshire,
Yes.
trustee Sarno.
Aye.
Okay, we'll see everybody in executive session then.
still don't think it's done. But now we've gone into what's called a private or executive session. No, baby, that was with the mayor and the village board. And the mayor. I sent you an email, what I sent them. I spoke. So let's see if the private meeting's done yet. So they're in their executive meeting or the private part now, but there's more after that. So I don't know if they come back or not. What are my choices?
So I make a chicken already and I make a broccoli. I got a rice with the veggies. You want the chicken? You want to eat enough?
I have a little chicken, yeah, before it gets too late. Sorry to bother you, babe. I can just.
Don't bother me. Yeah, gather what you want and then we warm it up. You want eggs in the top or something?
That's good.
Yeah. With the broccolis, I just okay. You're good.
So I don't know if they come back after this or not.
wanna surprise me? You don't wanna
I'm
have
still thinking about that. The neighbor just came from that way with the dog. Did she pass this way before?
I don't think so.
We're back, Fred.
Thank you.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID.
We have everybody, right?
I, so,
Ready to go, Andy.
all right, then, moving on to fire, Patrick.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of the Fire Department, I would like to make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing a side letter agreement between the Village of Roselle and the Roselle Professional Firefighters Association, which is the local 4051.
Second.
Okay, and we had discussion in executive session, so there is no discussion, so a roll call, please.
Trustee Devitt,
Aye.
trustee Trejo,
Aye.
trustee Domke,
Aye.
trustee Berkshire,
Yes.
trustee Sarno,
Aye.
and trustee Poleski.
Aye.
And our motion is carried. Anything else under fire?
That is all for Fire Department, Mr. Mayor.
Other business? Patrick?
I have one thing, it's more of a suggestion, knowing that Halloween is on a Saturday this year, and I know we're far out, but I know letters and whatnot go out. I believe in the past, it's always been 4 to 8 for trick or treating. Because it's on a Saturday, and I know a lot of people with young kids like to go out earlier. Was wondering if we can make the adaptation of making it like 12 to 8, so that those with young kids could go out earlier.
I would, I don't know where we're gonna be with the pandemic. Jeff, please.
Exactly right. Patrick, we've been as a management team discussing Halloween in general and what would be permitted under the guidelines of the governor. So we're in that process right now of determining what is and what is not. So we can plan on getting back to the board to your question, Patrick, and just the general idea of, is Halloween going to be permitted, trick or treat?
In one way or another, maybe. But yeah, just a suggestion. I don't know, who makes those calls or whatnot, but figure something that came up.
We'll get back to you and the board if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. That is all, Mr. Mayor.
All right, then can I have a motion to adjourn?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, everybody have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.